Hi, welcome to the video. As usual, you go to the description below. There should be a Google Drive link to the PDF to see here. This is the interactive PDF timeline. If you take your cursor upper right hand corner, it will allow you to download as well. Certainly have my permission to do that. So, who was the man of lawlessness in 2 Thessalonians 2? There's a gentleman by the name of Ed Stevens. All credit goes to him. So I have links to his PDFs, his research that you have access to this PDF here. But I have to, disclaimer, he's not good with dates. I don't know what his what calendar conversion he's using, but it's off. All right, but putting that aside, this guy was able to figure out who it was. All right, so I have access to his resources right here. Man of Lawlessness PDF. Let me just zoom in. You can click on that. And then there's also Abomination, Rebellion, Lawlessness. All right, click on that. And there's also Follow Masada. Again, you notice on all three of these, I have here ignored dates. Again, I don't know. Whatever method he was using, it did not work. Okay. But anyway, so the name of the person who was actually the man of lawlessness, who stood in the temple of God, sat in the temple of God, his name was Elazar B. Ananias. All right. So his dad's name was Ananias. All right. So his dad, actually, Paul encountered him in Acts 23. So let's just go over there for a second. So let's click over here. So bringing it over to the timeline a little further left. So Acts 23, when Paul encountered Ananias, that's Elazar's dad, and so he was the one that was restraining his son from power. So if you click on this, you can read right about it. I guess I clicked on the wrong one. But anyway, right here, Paul, looking intently at the council, said, "Brethren, I have lived my life with a perfectly good conscience for God up to this day." The high priest Ananias, that's Elder's dad, the restrainer, commanded those standing beside him to strike him on the mouth. And Paul said to him, "God is going to strike you, you whitewashed wall. Do you try me according to the law, in violation of the law, order me to be struck?" But the bystanders said, "Do you revile God's high priest?" All right, so Paul said, God is going to strike you. And that's exactly what happened years later. Let's see here. Yeah, so he died on August 14th, 1866. Alrighty. So you can read about it in Word 217, 2 through 9. So paragraph 9, you should just click on this here. It'll bring you right to it. So and then you scroll all the way down to 17, and then paragraph 9, you can read about it. So here, paragraph 17. The paragraph is loaded in terms of importance. It's the fulfillment of Daniel 12, where the cessation of sacrifices. You can read it right here. So this is when Elazar, the lawless one, on the same day his dad died, ordered no more sacrifice, all right, for any foreigner. So that was the fulfillment of Daniel 12, to end the sacrifices. And so that was August 14th of 1866. The next day is August 15th of 1866. And that was the feast, that's the beginning of the 1335-day prophecy, Daniel 12:12. And that was the day of the festival of Exaltafuri, which fits because this is a festival amongst the Jews where they're allowed to intermarry. And so the Antichrist, the one that denied Christ in the flesh, they're gonna do this. They're gonna intermarry. Whereas those who came to Christ, they're gonna remember the things he said about pray your flight doesn't take place in the winter, for those that are pregnant. So they knew that it won't be long before they're gonna have to flee the temple. matter of fact, it happened exactly 1335 days later, right to the day, on April 10th, AD 70. So, so it all makes sense. You know, the dates work out perfectly. Now, this paragraph, the way it's written, it had thrown a lot of people off with dates. So I give an explanation of how I did the dating, and so it's right here. How they able to get the dates in that paragraph. Word, book 2, paragraph 17. All right, or chapter 17. Sorry, and then so I go over the paragraphs how I assign the date. So if you understand it, first off. The Feast of Xylophone was always on August 15th, so just remember that. It's kind of like Valentine's Day. It's always February 14th and never changes. So you can remember that. I think you'll have a easier time understanding where I'm coming from, the dates. So anyway, yeah. So and then I have a date conversion. I actually give you access to my date conversion tools. So show you how I did it. So basically, this first one, the default one, I go to that one first, and if the name of the month that the sources give, such as Josephus, matches what works within the conversion, like for example, Heshbon, or usually it's either this or a Gregorian or whatever, then I use that. All right. If it's not listed, then I go to the common, and sometimes Josephus used this here, and sometimes he'd be using the common here. All right. Then I can then it's just a matter of whatever day he actually gives, if he gives it. All right. So I found that has worked. It has worked very well, and that's how they're able to get the 1335 day prophecy to fit perfectly in the timeline. So yeah. So basically, so Elder's dad died. He's the restrainer, and then he started exercising lawlessness right away. And it was revealed right then and there. He's the lawless one. And if you remember in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, apostasy takes place first. Well, it's right here. All right, this is the Jewish revolt. All right, and then he's supposed to sit in the temple of God. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. They're supposed to endure the entire 1335 days. So, blessed is he that wait and come to the 1,305 and 30 days, the 1335 days. So he could be sitting in the temple of God here, or standing in the temple of God here, okay? But what they're waiting for, they're counting down, and they would have gotten a ballpark idea right here. So as on February 25th, when he stood in the temple of God, and unfortunately Joseph was not there during that time, but whatever happened, they knew, okay, this is definitely the guy. It was getting close to Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread of 70 AD, and they knew that they were getting close to the end of the 1335 days, and they would have realized, oh, okay, we're supposed to be fleeing Thursday afternoon on April 10th, and and so you can read about it in Josephus' writings right here. All right, it's somewhat fascinating. So anyway, yeah. So again, his name was Elder B. Ananias. So that name is his dad, Ananias. So what made him lawless? He didn't care about the law of God, even though his dad anyway was the high priest. Yeah, so he fits perfectly, and he actually documented being at the Masada as well, which is significant because that was where the last of the enemies were. So when it says in 2 Thessalonians 2, where he destroy him by the brightness of his coming, that took place on April 8th of AD 73, which was Passover that day, or Feast of Unleavened Bread. I'll have to look that up again. But either Passover day, I think a Feast of Unleavened Bread. So that was significant because usually that's when they're not, when the Jewish people are not on guard as much. And these were the Jews who denied Christ in the flesh. They were Antichrist. Okay, the Jews who came to Christ, they fled the temple and they went all the way, I believe, Petra. And this elder guy, I think he fled about the same time with them, but instead of going with them to Petra, he went straight to Masada. All right, he had to have left right before the slaughter began, the siege, which happened 24 hours later, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Nisan 15, obviously, in the Hebraic calendar, but April 11th, that evening. And so, otherwise he would not have made it out alive. So he must have fled with them, and made it to Masada. So then he took over to Masada. I mean, this guy was just a power-hungry freak. But yeah, you can read about how he had control over the temple. So if you've been wanting to know the name of the lawless one, that's it. So again, credit to Ed Stevens. You got to be a sharp guy to be able to piece this together, and that is not easy. I would have never figured it out myself. All right, but the problem is his dates. His dates are just off. So anyway, and I'm going to end it with this. If you're into timelines and that sort of thing, this is what troubles me. Second Thessalonians, it's often cited around 51, 52 AD, but I'm okay with First Thessalonians being written around that time. That can make sense. Okay, but Second Thessalonians during that time, no. I believe it was written after Paul had met Ananias in Acts 23, and for now I have Acts 23 placed in 59 AD. But he had to have identified him first by name before he could write to the Church of Thessalonica, his second letter. Remember when I told you these things and blah blah blah. Let's just go there for a second here. So the following way to first, we already mentioned that the Jewish revolt, that man of sin would be revealed. That was Elzer, the son of perdition. That was Ananias, who opposed all exalt himself above all that is called God. All right. Remember you not that when I was with you, I told you things. So back then, the Jews had a phenomenal memory. I mean, they could remember stuff. They memorize scripture like you won't believe. So when he said, "Remember not," this tells me this is many years later. This is not a year or two later, like most people are placing it. I think this is a long time after, and I believe it had been after Act 23. And I feel like I'm the only guy on the planet that sees that. So I'm always open to hear what other people have to say. But anyway, So he was revealed, and he's the one that fled to Masada, and then the Lord consumed him and destroyed him. The brightness is coming. So. So anyway, those are just my thoughts, and hope you enjoy the material. And there's a lot of useful information in this timeline, and it's a work in progress, but it's coming together pretty well. All right. So anyway, hope you find the information helpful, and hope you continue to enjoy your studies, and you have an awesome day. Thank you.